Hello again, friends. Once again, we are going to read Cinderella. But this time, we are traveling to Norway. However, this story is a long one, so I am splitting it up into smaller segments. We are calling this Chapter 1. And if you like it, there will be a total of 3 chapters. So join me now as we read Katie Woodencloak. Once on a time, there was a king who had become a widower. By his queen he had one daughter who was so clever and lovely there wasn't a cleverer or lovelier princess in the world. So the king went on a long time sorrowing for the queen whom he had loved so much. But at last he got weary of living alone and married another queen. "Welp, I'm tired of being sad. You there. Congratulations, you are now my wife. Rejoice!" What is your name, by the way? Who was a widow and had, too, an only daughter. But this daughter was just as bad and ugly as the other was kind and clever and lovely. The stepmother and her daughter were jealous of the princess because she was so lovely. But so long as the king was at home, they daren't do her any harm. He was so fond of her. Well, after a time, he fell into war with another king and went out to battle with his host. And then the stepmother thought she might do as she pleased. And so she both starved and beat the princess. I probably should have done a content warning. And was after her in every hole and corner of the house. At last she thought everything too good for her and turned her out to herd cattle. So there she went about with the cattle and herded them in the woods and on the fells. As for the food, she got little or none, and she grew thin and wan and was always sobbing and sorrowful. Now in the herd there was a great Dunbull, which always kept himself so neat and sleek, and often he came up to the princess and let her pat him. So one day, when she sat there, sad and sobbing and sorrowful, he came up to her and asked her outright why she was always in such grief. "Ah! A talking Dunbull!" She answered nothing, but went on weeping. "Ah," said the bull, "I know all about it quite well, though you won't tell me. You weep because the queen is bad to you, and because she is ready to starve you to death. But food you've no need to fret about, for in my left ear lies a cloth, and when you take and spread it out, you may have as many dishes as you please." Well, that's odd and a little gross. So she did that, took the cloth and spread it out on the grass, and lo, it served up the nicest dishes one could wish to have. There was wine, too, and mead and sweet cake. Well, she soon got up her flesh again, and grew so plump and rosy and white that the queen and her scrawny chip of a daughter turned blue and yellow for spite. That is a very colorful description. The queen couldn't at all make out how her stepdaughter got to look so well on such bad fare, so she told one of her maids to go after her in the wood and watch and see how it all was, for she thought some of the servants in the house must give her food. So the maid went after her and watched in the wood, and then she saw how the stepdaughter took the cloth out of the bull's ear, spread it out, and how it served up the nicest dishes, which the stepdaughter ate and made good cheer over. All this the maid told the queen when she went home. Snitch. And now the king came home from war, and had won the fight against the other king with whom he went out to battle. So there was great joy throughout the palace, and no one was gladder than the king's daughter. Oh, thank goodness! Maybe we will actually have a useful father in this story. But the queen shammed sick, and took to her bed and paid the doctor a great fee to get him to say that she could never be well again unless she had some of the dun bull's flesh to eat. Both the king's daughter and the folk in the palace asked the doctor if nothing else would help her, and prayed hard for the bull, for everyone was fond of him, and they all said there wasn't that bull's match in all the land. But no, he must and should be slaughtered. Nothing else would do. When the king's daughter heard that, she got very sorrowful, and went down into the byre for the bull. There, too, he stood, and hung down his head, and looked so downcast that she began to weep over him. "What are you weeping for?" asked the bull. "Probably for the same reason you look so depressed, your impending death." So she told him how the king had come home again, and how the queen had shammed sick, and got the doctor to say that she could never be well and sound again unless she got some of the dun bull's flesh to eat. And so now he was to be slaughtered. Didn't we just read that part like a paragraph ago? "If they get me killed first," said the bull, "they'll soon take your life too. Now, if you're of my mind, we'll just start off and go away tonight." Well, the princess thought it bad, you may be sure, to go and leave her father, but she thought it still worse to be in the house with the queen, and so she gave her word to the bull to come to him. Ah, that classic story of a girl and her bull. At night, when all had gone to bed, the princess stole down to the byre to the bull, and so he took her on his back and set off from the homestead as fast as he ever could. And when the folk got up at cock-crow the next morning to slaughter the bull, why, he was gone. And when the king got up and asked for his daughter, she was gone too. Dun, dun, dun! Join us next week to see what happens. Will the Step Queen be forced to fake her own death since she can't have the bull meat? Will the king do something useful? Will the princess and the bull have an adventure as they travel? Find out when we read Chapter 2. Also, if you would be so kind as to click the little thumbs up button to like the video, share the video, either by, sharing the link with someone or, just saying, "Hey, look at this!" And if they like it, encourage them to subscribe. I have a lot of wonderful and rarely told stories here, and you can use them to fall asleep to. The notification icon is a bell, and it will only notify you if you alter the settings, and then only on YouTube. I don't think Facebook has a notification bell if you watch them there. I don't know if Patreon does either. Now I have to look. Speaking of Patreon, there is a free member option, and I've started posting polls. I'm hoping you can help me guide our little channel to a bright future. Some of you have been with me the whole time, and I think this channel is a little bit yours too. I also have Facebook and Instagram for anyone who's interested. I cannot thank Pixabay.com enough, as they are essential to my tiny little channel. Most of all, I want to thank you, my dear friends, for spending this time with me. Thank you. And now, a special thank you to my Patreon friends.